Well, hi guys and welcome back to the channel. This is going to be a very quick video. I'm actually out with my Nikon Z 180-600mm lens with my Z7 today. And I'm actually gunning for water dragons. Now these guys have come into this reserve here and it's just this time of the year where it's just starting to cool down a little bit here in Australia. They're absolutely out in force everywhere. So this prompted me to make this video. I've got this fantastic area. Now that's the thing, when you're taking photos of these water dragons, you've got to look for their habitat. So in this parkland area here, there's this creek that runs through it. You've got all these different structures, logs. So I'll just give you a little bit of information on these water dragons. Interesting to note, when they see you and they scarper for cover, the first thing they go for is water. That's what they find the safest environment for them. They can hold their breath up to 1 hour because I've seen little bubbles coming up underneath logs and stuff like that. So they're tucked under there because they're scared of me. So I've got to be a little bit more light on my feet. I'm going way too close to them. So I've got to stay back and use this zoom lens to go in. Second of all, their greatest predator, I thought would have been something like birds or stuff like that, even when they were small. It's actually snakes. We have a ton of really venomous snakes here in Australia. So the snakes that go after these guys are things like brown snakes, red belly black snakes, and death adders as well. As I've been walking through all this jungle here, I'm looking down continually, just watching where I tread. So using this lens and camera combo, I'm just going to make my way through this park. I'm going to follow the creek along and just see what I can find. I just mentioned before how I was stepping through this bush here next to this creek and I was being extra careful looking out for snakes. Sure enough, I was just about to stand on something. I went, oh, what's that? I jumped back, but it was actually a blue-tongued lizard. Now these guys are really harmless, and the unfortunate thing is people here in Australia do mistake them for snakes and they do end up killing them. And it's just such a shame because they are very harmless. They just feed on things like snails in your garden. So I just erred on the side of caution. I just stepped back, made sure it was a blue-tongued lizard, went around. You know, I think I've mentioned it before, I'm so blessed to live in Australia. We have such a diverse range of wildlife here. And you know, just before I was walking through and I was looking for these water dragons, when I looked up to this tree and this little tiny Australian possum had found this little notch in the tree and he was just starting to doze off. You can't get much more cuter than that, can you? Anyway, let's keep looking for these water dragons. So far, I've seen a whole heap of water dragons in different sizes. There's been some really big ones, but there's also been little tiny babies as well. You can see that they've taken ownership of logs. Now, one thing to note with these guys, they are very sedentary when they're out taking in their sun and they get energy from that. Ooh, sorry, I just thought I saw one. But the main thing is keep your shutter low. So I'm using something like 1/250th of a second. Now that keeps the noise down on my photos as well. The only time you need a faster shutter is when they're running. And when they run, they're hilarious because their legs are out. They kind of like flop along type of thing and their tails are up. Unfortunately, I haven't seen any running today, so I haven't got any footage of that. The best advice I can give you when you're taking photos of these water dragons is to make sure you keep your distance. If you get too close, they will scarper. Use the advantage of having a big zoom lens like this 180-600mm. Use them at the end at 600mm, that way you won't scare the water dragons off. Anyway guys, that is photographing water dragons with the Nikon Z 180-600mm lens and the Z7. I hope you enjoyed the video. As I always say, never stop creating, and I'll see you next time.